So I'm a little bit excited today because for the first time since you guys have been viewing this channel, you're going to get a clear shot of what it actually looks like back here. So this is adjacent to the house. It goes on about a mile in between here and the next house. After we get some heavy rain, and this was about 3 days of off and on heavy rain, along with one brutal rainstorm that literally had cars floating on the side of 17 in some areas. So if that just goes to show, after Hurricane Florence, this was 6 feet. You could not get through here without a boat or with scuba gear, and it was dangerous as heck because you got all these down trees and you got vines that you can get wrapped around. It's just not a good element to be scuba diving in. Just to give you guys a general idea, I know it's not the best footage, but it's the only footage that I have of the house during Hurricane Florence or around that time period. This is the day after it blew over, so 24 hours after Hurricane Florence. The driveway is still insurpassable. We ended up leaving our cars up front and just leaving them there, hoping to God they didn't wash away, and luckily the water did not get all the way up to them. But this is about 6 feet above where we just were in the woods just a few seconds ago. So you can only imagine right now down there, it's probably actually 7 to 8 feet deep now that I'm thinking about it. So that being said, in 2019, a boy by the name of Casey Hathaway went missing from Ernle, North Carolina. Now, this is not Ernle. They did go looking for him in several adjacent counties and bordering counties in the area. This is the boy that when he went missing said that a bear protected him over a 48-hour period, give or take a few hours. It wasn't that long of a search, but what you guys don't know is at that time period, there were several other children that were being looked for, and they did not end up making it home to their families. So I know a lot of you are probably saying, well, where exactly are you? Because you haven't exactly told us where you are right now. Well, this is New Bern, all right? This is right in between Havelock and Ernle, or right in between Havelock and Bridgeton, basically eastern North Carolina, if you have no idea any of the places that I'm talking about right now. So this is the middle point between those two areas, between where those two children went missing. So naturally, they converged into here to try and look for them both. And they sent a lot of teams, a lot of dive teams out into the river, and a lot of dive teams out into the woods. Specifically these woods, like I was talking about earlier. During Hurricane Florence, you could navigate through here with scuba gear, and you would never think that it would ever dry out. It was 6 feet deep, like I was saying earlier. But one of the big dangers about coming back here after a rainstorm isn't the wildlife. It's not, you know, the fact that trees might be toppling over, which when you do get a lot of water, that the root systems can't take it. The trees start toppling over left and right. But that's not even the big thing. So you also have a false flooring system that develops. Now, you might be asking yourself, what do I mean by false flooring? It looks like there's just, you know, debris everywhere. Well, yeah, that's the thing, is there is a lot of debris and there's a lot of root systems. And when the water rushes through here rapidly, at a time like this, it washes out a lot of the soil in between these root systems that you guys see popping out of the ground and in the down trees. So you could be walking along, right, and all of a sudden your foot just slips into a 4-foot hole that's essentially just water covered up with pine needles and a whole bunch of roots. It's almost like stepping into a booby trap of some sort. Not exactly like that, because it's nothing literally trying to trap you, but you guys get where I'm going with this. You know, it looks like a false floor. It looks like you could step there and then boom, you're going down into a hole. It's not like your whole body's going to go, but it has a very strong potential to twist, break ankles. You can get knocked out hitting your neck against a tree, and if you step in one that's big enough, you might get stuck and you could drown. So now that we covered that, I'm going to cover some of the things that have happened during some of the live streams that I used to do. I used to come out here from between midnight to 2:30, 3 a.m. and do live streams out here, especially during the dry season. I felt a lot more comfortable out here during the dry season. Not to say that I didn't get unnerved a lot of the time, because we do have bears, we do have coyotes. They're not common in this area. They're more common about 30 minutes away from here, but you do have them. So when I'll be doing these live streams back here, I would sometimes start them while there's still daylight out and continue on throughout the night. One of the big things that people kept telling me they saw were crosses, and I did end up finding a few of these, but they were just crosses that were put together with twine and sticks, and it was during a time period where the address to the house was leaked, and if somebody knew this area, they would know, walk off of a certain road here and just start planting stuff. So that very well could have been a thing. But there was one night where I was out here on a live stream, and all of a sudden I'm walking and I run into a stick that pokes into me, and I'm like, hey, that's kind of weird, you know, but it's not uncommon for a branch to fall and just stick into the ground at a certain weird angle. It happens, especially when the ground's wet. So I kind of take a few steps over to the left. I don't really have my flashlight going yet. It's a little bit dark, but it's not dark enough that I can't 100% see, but I can kind of see at this point. It's that last little bit of daylight and you can barely see things through the tree canopy. So I take a few steps over to the left, I try and go back out, I hit another one, and I'm like, hey, that's even more weird. And it's a sharp stick facing right towards me, and I take a step backwards to try and go back the other way. I'm like, all right, I don't know what the hell's going on here. I break out my flashlight. At this point, I am circled with sticks that look like they have been planted around me within the last 15 to 20 seconds to keep me where I am at. It was the weirdest thing. I can't explain it. I went home to look up what a circle of sticks would even mean, and I couldn't find anything. But rest assured that people on the live stream had me so unnerved that I was about to get killed by some maniac, some serial killer, some witch of some sort. So I got the hell out of there, and by the time I came back the next day, there was nothing there. So by now, I'm sure you're saying, well, it's obviously somebody that was messing with you, or somebody's practicing some sort of witchcraft. Well, I'm about to elaborate on both of those points, and both of those are very strong possibilities. I'm not too into the witchcraft, so I can't say neither here nor there, but I have seen some stuff that looks witchcrafty in these woods, which we will go into momentarily. However, there was a point where the address was leaked, and I'm going to be fully open with this one. So when the address was leaked, we did have a paranormal investigation team come, and we requested several times that they could say somewhat of the location, like they could say the town that they're in, but we did not want them to put the full-blown address online, and they ended up doing it anyway. We ended up having them take it down, but for the next 4 months, we went through absolute hell, because this is when all of this stuff was blowing up on TikTok, and people were trying to find out if this was an Airbnb house, which it is not, by the way. We are trying to find a way to let people come and do investigations for free, but we want to do it safely. I don't know how exactly we're going to do that yet, but I have to be sure that anyone that comes is not going to leak the address, but that's a lot of information to try and keep offline when you start letting people come. So I hope you guys understand that. But getting into what I was saying, we had a guy come from Georgia and showed up at 7:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night wanting to do a full-blown investigation. He had bags packed. He wanted to stay multiple days. He hadn't tried to message us or anything. He just came and showed up and acted like we were the worst people in the world for not letting him do this investigation. It's like, dude, I've got a child in here. I don't know who you are. I don't know what your motives are. Like, I get it. I know you drove a long way, but dude, this is not the right way. If you had even tried to contact me first, it might be a possibility, but I have nothing from you saying that you were on your way, nothing from you saying that you were going to come. You didn't even try and reach out to me. You just showed up and expected us to just be like, yeah, we're going to let you come in. And it's not like that, man. I can't just let some random stranger into the house. But anyway, that's sort of some of the stuff we were dealing with. We were dealing with waking up at like 12 to 2:30 in the morning with people doing ritualistic shit with fires in the fucking woods. We also had people doing EVP sessions by the hot tub quite frequently. That was a thing we dealt with for a while. And this house is set up with a system that kind of lets you know where people are in the yard, and it'll wake my ass up and tell me exactly where I need to be looking at. So just for future reference, that's how we figured out these people were doing that, because we'd get chimes that would wake us up and say which sensors in the damn yard were going off. So with that being said, this next part I'm going to get into, the witchcraft aspect. I have found several different instances of these types of things throughout the house, which I'm about to show you now. I'm not sure how much I can show you. I can show a little bit more on here than I can on the talk. So hopefully I can show you guys everything that's in this. So in these boxes, you have deer hooves, you have skulls. Now, why are we keeping all this stuff? This isn't stuff that I have collected. This is stuff that was found in boxes in and around the house. Some of this stuff even found in boxes together, looking like it was put there for some sort of ritualistic way. And then couple that with the fact that we find stuff like this. So a lot of y'all might right off the bat be like, dude, this is obviously the sign of a Wendigo. You got some weird stuff going on here. You really need to get this checked out. You don't need to own this land. There's something wrong with it. But I also got to remind you guys that this is Eastern North Carolina. And what do I mean by that? Well, yes, there are burial grounds, Native American burial grounds throughout this area. And there is a lot of tragic history with this area. And more so, there were tribes here at one point. But This is the coast, and you don't normally hear about things like that on the coastline. That's more up in the mountains, you know, and thick, heavy wooded lands inland, not so much on the coastline, right? So in my mind, it's not too hard for somebody that once knew where this address was to come back into these woods whenever they feel like, daytime or nighttime, and just plant stuff for people to find, for people like me to find, for, you know, just to keep me on my toes and keep me thinking there's something going on in these woods. Now, that seems like the most logical explanation to me personally, but it's okay when these things are happening outside the confines of your own home, right? Like, it's not okay because it's still on the property, but it's a little more manageable and you can rest a little more easy. But when you start finding things like this happening on your live streams in your own home, is a totally different story. I leave you with this clip, and while it may not look too disturbing to some of you, you also have to remember I was the only one home. It was very late at night. I believe it was somewhere between 1:30 and 2:30 in the morning, and I didn't see this footage until I downloaded the live and was looking at it afterwards. Here you go. Head outside, but first I got... Yo. Outside, but first I got... Yo.